Okay, should be live. Let's see how this goes. I probably should grab this link and then share this in a couple different spots. So let's start here. Do. Okay. Cool. I think everything looks good. Let me just make sure it sounds okay, and then we should be good to get started. Sure, sounds good to me. Okay, I say that, but I also am gonna put in some headphones and turn on some music as well. So let me get those ready. And I probably should log into my system as well. Need to find a good spot to put my coffee. I feel like reaching over the mic is not a good idea, but oh well. We'll do it. Okay. Cool. So yeah, let's just get into some open source programming. Oh, I am missing one thing. How did I do that last time? Okay. Let me go to the link here. I should probably mute this. And then what I really want is this chat. I want to pop it out, and then I want to move it up here so it's easy for me to see. And then, oh man. I've upgraded so much of my workstation recently for video editing or video recording rather, and streaming. But I need to make sure that I have everything actually working like I would expect. So let's try this. So I've got this set up to display. It actually looks like chat messages aren't showing. Live chat. Let's try this. Do I stream on Twitch as well? No, at this point I do not. I'm interested in doing that. There's some requirements about cross streaming that I don't fully understand at this point, and to be honest, my entire audience is on YouTube. So I, tend to just stay here for now. But yeah, I'm open to streaming on Twitch if it makes sense. I don't know. Okay, this is maybe a bad idea. Let's try this. Hopefully the camera doesn't get too hard to see. So we should be able to do that, and then I should be able to make this a lot bigger. And then I change this from top chat to live chat. Yeah, okay, cool. Hopefully the camera quality is still good, but now I've got my chat right up here next to the camera, so it's easier for me to actually see what people are saying. So with that, let's get into it. Okay, so my plan today is to work on hello from the United States, Glad you're joining me from Nigeria. My plan today is to work on some open source stuff. I've got a couple of projects that have been demanding my attention. And then also, I have put together a plan for 2026 of things that I'd like to study. So we might end up looking into some of that stuff as well. Um, but yeah, for now, I don't think there's anything for me to fix with uppies. So I think we'll probably start with Dust because there's plenty to do on Dust. So let's hop over there. Okay. Rockling, close some of these tabs. I've got way too many open. I guess on that note, HTTP spec might be fun to work on. Same with Pop Shop. I don't know. We've got some projects to work on. So yeah, I think maybe we start with Dust. And I probably should pick an issue and maybe start there. So Dust is this it's a media server that the server piece is written in Zig. The client is written in lit web components. Yeah, it's fun. This is interesting. Does this still make sense? I've added an admin endpoint for refreshing a specific book's metadata. Does this still make sense with that in place? This has been fixed, right? This is from the Dino implementation that it was originally. I'm 99% sure this has been fixed. Let's just double check and make sure. So somewhere in here, we've got our config. Let me make this bigger for you. My apologies. Sometimes forget how small things can look. Got to run happy hacking. Thank you so much, and thanks for stopping by. I always appreciate seeing regular faces in the chat. Okay, so we've got our dusters, we've got our database URL. So yes, it is configurable. That's great. This has been fixed. Let's close this out. The database. That is what it's called, right? Database URL. Probably shouldn't be called database URL. Mostly because it's not a URL. Okay, the database URL environment variable allows you to configure where this is stored. But to be honest, the URL part of the environment variable name implies functionality that this does not support. So at some point, we may want to change the environment variable. Change the environment variable. Okay. Hey, started working through your Zig Invader series yesterday, and it's been really helpful to me. Thank you for that. Yeah, of course. I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. I really want to make sure that people don't end up getting stuck in tutorial hell, but I also really want to make sure that there are tutorials that are fun and different and unique and prompt you to think about things in a way that's different. And there's so many build a website in whatever type tutorials. And don't get me wrong, those aren't bad, and there's a reason that those are what people tend to build. It's because it's what people know and feel comfortable teaching, and it's relevant, right? Like the web is where most of the jobs are at the moment, so there's some excitement about that. But I'm a big fan of like finding joy in programming, and that isn't always building a web server or building a website. So I'm really glad that you have enjoyed that Zig Invaders course. That was fun to make, and I actually have one more lesson planned that I need to record about interfaces and essentially abstraction points, and it'll be a bonus lesson, but I need to find the time to do that. Also, give me 1 second. Sorry, I totally forgot to put on music, so I've got my headphones in, and it just, I can hear myself talk, and it sounds weird. Okay, cool. Should be good to go. I'll try really hard not to sing, but some of this stuff Some of this music just gets me going. Okay, so we closed out that issue because that issue has been fixed. I probably should actually close it, not just comment. Implement cover manager. I think we're in a good enough spot to close this one out too. So we do have covers working in Dust. So I mean, you can see them here. I've got covers. Um, did I add a cover to this one for Open Library? So if I refresh metadata, it's refreshing. It's refreshing. Maybe I didn't add a cover for this in Open Library. Let me just hit refresh metadata again. Okay, metadata successfully refreshed. So it is refreshing. I guess I just didn't add an image to that. So I guess on that note, one thing I should mention is that all of these images and the data for these are based on Open Library. So like learning Java 17 or learn Java 17 programming by Nick Samilov. So if I grab this, it's a packed book. All too familiar with those. So I can come over here and then I can do a couple different things. I can open a tab and search this and get a cover from packed. Let me just make sure that does look like the correct cover. So I can come in here and then save this. Actually, I think that I can just copy this. Open Library makes this nice and easy. So we can hop over to openlibrary.org, learn Java 17 programming. Nick Samilov, that's the one. So now I can hop over here. If it loads. Yeah, the last edit was import bot. So no one has edited this since it's been imported by their bot. Probably, unless there were edits that have come in from import bots since then. But I've got the English edition. Not that it matters too much, but we should be able to click in on this and get to the specifics. And then I can come in here and click edit. This does have a cover. We're going to hop over here, go to add cover image, paste, upload image. Do I have any plans of doing another C plus Zig stream? Not until I find something where I need to interrupt between the two. But if you have a specific thing that you'd like me to go through, I'd be happy to talk about it. Or if it ends up being a big enough thing that it makes sense to do a like one-off video for, I'm happy to do that as well. What are you thinking? Okay, we've got subtitles. I'm going to grab the description from Packed as well and post that here. So descriptions right here. Make this a little bigger for you because boy, do I constantly forget to do that. Hop over here, description. Actually, sorry, I'm going to save this. And it's the description if it's different from the works description. Man, Open Library is running a little slow. Oof. Okay, cool. Image has been added. So I'm just going to go back in and add the description as well. So if I hop back into this edit, oh, it is so slow. Okay, and then I've got the specific edition right here, but if I hop back over to the work details and then pop in the description right there, you can see there's the description. You can add subject keywords. So I honestly, I figure if I'm in here, I would like to just go ahead and help out with Open Library as much as I can. Okay. I don't have any excerpts. I don't have any links. Okay, seems good. Added description. And what else did we add? Subject keywords. Subject keywords. Go ahead and hit save. This should save, and then that information will be available on Open Library as well. As it currently stands, Dust doesn't pull in all of that stuff. The descriptions are probably something that I'd like to start pulling in, so it's something that we should probably do at some point. But now we've actually flushed out this page for Open Library, which is great. It feels good to contribute back. And then we can hop back over here to Dust, and then I can hit this refresh metadata button, let this run for a second, and now you can see we've pulled that image. So Dust is pulling that image, and you can see it over here as well. So at some point, I want to go through and take all of these books that don't have cover images and get them uploaded so that my library is nice and easily organized and easier to work with. But that's maybe not the most fun thing to do on stream. So maybe we should do some programming. So we don't have a wish list. That could be fun to work on. Genres, fleshing out the author page. This might be broken. Actually, this might be a fun thing for us to fix. Authors 17, no biography, books. Okay, yeah, this looks broken. Let's fix this. So, oh, it is broken. How fun. Author details, author name. I have broken this interface as we switched from Dino to Zig. So I don't want uppies. I don't want HTTP spec. I want, that's Zig. Where is Dust? Right here. Okay, I'm going to close this out, this cover manager ticket, and let me move the coffee out of the way. Cover manager has been implemented and is working sufficiently enough that I feel comfortable closing out this issue. Covers are fetched remotely from Open Library and cached locally. If you'd like to provide another cover instead, you can do so by adding a cover locally, and you can find examples of that in the README. Cool. Knocking out issues, but to be honest, these are just closing things that we've already fixed. This has been fixed. This looks so much better. Yeah. Let me get a screenshot of this. So if I hop back over here, connect to a server. Actually, do I have an issue for this one? No. Okay. I don't have a way to, oh, okay, up here, log out. I was like, how do I indicate? Well, that logout doesn't seem to be working. Where is the text? Is this client behind? So I added some text to the client that indicates how usernames are managed, but I don't seem to see that. So curious, GitHub pages, 16 hours ago, it should be there. Currently facing issues with NATS C plus SIG. I have a need to use a NATS C library in my project, and I haven't been able to get it through. Is that NATS as in like the network layer NATS? NATS C. Whoa. Streaming, key value, object store, pub sub, all in one platform, microservices, multi-cloud. Okay, interesting. That's not what I thought it was. Um, what's the issue that you're running into? You're currently facing issues with it. Do you specifically like have an issue that you could share? I'll keep an eye on the chat for that, but I'm also going to hop back over to Dust for a second. I have way too many tabs open. Okay. All right, whatever. That's fine. Okay, so what I can do, storage, clear site data, give this a good old refresh. Connect to server. Let's do bradlab1 http:// bradlab1 4001. Okay, signed in. Okay, cool. Yeah, that is there, but it only shows up on the initial connection, which I guess is fine for now. Um, can I just paste it? Is that something I can do? Nice. Save to clipboard. Love it. Perfect. Okay, cool. That's a really bad comment. It's a great image, but I should also say this has been resolved with a client update last week. Currently, I'm not like versioning releases for the client like I am the server, which is maybe something I should do. But it makes it a little hard to know exactly when the updates have changed. So I'd like to share commit hashes or release versions, but with that one, I don't really know when it was. Tabling this for now. In the meantime, I strongly recommend using something like Uppies. You should be able to do this. This would be nice that if you could do this in GitHub. Like I've got a user and I want to point to a repo that they've built. So like that would be nice if that linked properly. Instead, I'm gonna have to type this out and do github.com/bradseipert/uppies. Which is what I'm using to manage my Dust installation on my home lab. Okay, allow user to sign up. This is technically done. This is working well enough for now. And any future metadata related improvements can and should be new tickets or new issues for tracking purposes. Thanks. Okay. I have gotten so distracted. I want to look at the Dino implementation, which I don't have hanging out anymore. So I'm going to have to go through the commit history, figure out where we added that Zig release. My goodness, we've had a lot of, yeah, okay, the zigging. We're actually not removing the Dino stuff in that version, though. Why do I have two of these? Oh, as an aside, I think, I mean, I did this because obviously I thought it was a good idea. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think it was a good idea. But I'd love to see more of these in open source projects. So I know that like a lot of people have a lot of very different opinions on AI and their usage in their projects. I think people should just be more clear about it. This, if anyone's curious, this is my stance on AI. At least with this project, and this is probably pretty true for just about any of my projects. But use of AI tools will not bar you from contributing to Dust. It is important, however, that when you submit code to be merged into Dust, its purpose and how it will be maintained needs to be clear and understandable. For this reason, contributions to Dust follow a zero slop policy. I want to be clear, though, that this is focused on preventing the contribution of slop, which could be generated by an AI, but also could be written by hand. I've seen a lot of slop written by hand. It's also important to understand that it is unacceptable to ask a member of the Dust team to review code that you have not reviewed yourself, either by writing it or by reviewing the code that was generated for you. Ultimately, you should have a good understanding of how your submission works before submitting it. Lastly, we do use AI tools in the development of Dust. I found that it does a particularly good job at synthesizing documentation and other tasks that tend to get neglected. I have reviewed the content that was generated for this purpose and aim to leverage AI powered tools to keep it up to date, at least until the project finds someone passionate about maintaining documentation and would like that responsibility. With that out of the way, though, let's see if I can actually find these admin routes. Okay, I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit so it's easier for me to scan really quick while we're looking for certain things. But whenever I actually find the thing I'm looking for, we can hop back into. It might be this. Nope, that's just an interface defining. Actually, it would be good. Let me just double check and make sure. Really. Awesome. Thank you, GitHub. Jesus. Let me just double check the author implementation. Author. Is that under books then? Books, model. Outline. Show me what we got. Author. Okay. ID, name, biography, birth date, death date, nationality, image URL, Wikipedia URL, Goodreads URL, website. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that looks good. I just got to figure out why those routes are not. Okay, we got list book, skip book, create book, update book, list authors. Why did we do anything differently with this in the Dino version? So we return the name. Like in the Dino version, it looks like it was nested. And I don't know why I did that. So let's just fix the client. So that would be author page. Okay, but right here it says name. Let me hop back in and troubleshoot this more. So we'll do this one. We'll use my test password, which is going to yell at me and say that this was found in a breach. That's totally fine. It's my test password. Okay. What did we do wrong here? Authors, Adam Bellamere. Okay. So we get here, main.js, get author. Oh, we're trying to get the author initials and what does this look like? Don't tell me that. Really? Okay. Oh, actually, that makes sense. We're not even getting there yet. So author details is null. Let's give this a shot. Author details, books. Author details, books. Okay, that's good. So we flattened it. Book title. Okay. What does books look like? Just out of curiosity here. And let me make this a little bigger too, so it's easier for you to see. Yep, sounds good. Show me books. Name, status. Okay, cool. Simple enough. I can always improve that later. So render the book card. Yep, sounds good. It should just be author details name. There's no author here. I'm also not returning total books, am I? Okay, that's fine. Let's fix a couple different pieces here then. So the first thing is we can search for somewhere down here. Right here, please. Oh no, not right there. Shoot, where was that? Yeah, this right here. Hop back over here, paste this. It's not a regular expression. So this should just be this.author.name. Yeah, this has been flattened. I think I would rather just keep it. It's not really author details then. It then becomes author, right? It does become author. Okay, so let's refactor that. So we're just going to change this to rename author. And let's see what we broke in the process. Okay. Yep, those get inlined. Oof, these are deep. Okay. We've got another issue down here. Yep. Just fix that like so. Okay, I guess I probably should actually test this locally, right? So let's hop back over to Dust over here and cd into the client, npm run dev maybe? Open this up. Looks good. Server name, bradlab1. Yep, that'll work. Also, someone was supposed to get some examples of some Nats issues, and I haven't seen anything from them. I'm kind of curious, is the chat broken? Doesn't look like it. Interesting. Okay. Yep, that's fine. It's I wish I could get it to stop showing that since it's a test password. Oh, issue? What's going on here? Sign in. Ignore that token. Interesting. It succeeded, but didn't. Weird. Okay, that seems like an issue. No, trying to push a repo, then share link. Okay, that's fine. I didn't know if you disappeared. Hey, okay, cool. That fixes that page. Cool, I guess. I'd love to get more information. So maybe let's take a look at Open Library and see if we can find information. They seem like they're having some site issues today, unfortunately. Oh my goodness. I'm going to use this opportunity to change my music. And instead of rap, we will listen to some metal. Let's do Ghost. Okay, Adam Bell. I've already forgotten his name. Bellemare. Bellemare. Building event-driven microservice. What book do I have from him? Building event-driven microservices. Oh, okay, cool. The image shows up there, but isn't showing up on the author's page. So we're rendering the book card. All right. Render book card. Show me what we got. Get cover URL for the book. Get active server. Replace. Cover image path, cover image URL. Okay, the book struct that I'm returning here doesn't have any of those things. Positive of that. Sorted books, returns a book. Yeah, there's so many optionals. Okay, yeah. So that's fine. The server is just not returning that. So that seems like a thing that we could fix too. So that would be under routes, not users, it'd be routes under books. So we have a book ID, we have a book item. Yeah, we're pulling the cover image path. I feel like we should just, if we're querying the full book, I feel like we should just return the full book, right? Also, what is this allocator? Is this the, okay, it's the arena. Good, good, good. I why are we doing this? And this as well. Okay, I don't think we need that. That was a really weird mistake that I've probably made. So let's hop back over. I'm also just gonna boot up Dust locally. So I've got Dust server, zig build run. We'll just boot this up, make sure it runs successfully. It doesn't. Um, oh, it's already a slice. That's nice. That makes sense. I'm not itemsing it here. Let's give this another run. Oh, yeah. Sure. That's a JWT secret for testing. Those are my DIRs, and the scan interval is 1 minute. Let's give this a run. Okay, cool. Actually running. Great, great, great. So let's hop back over to Chrome. And what I want to do is change server, connect to a server. Can I make Dust bigger so it's not such a pain to see? And then over here, I just want to say local ghost. Since we're listening to Ghost, that seems fitting. Localhost 4001. Connect to server. Excellent. I think I still have a test account for this one as well. I do. Interestingly enough, it did default me to Brad Lab instead of local ghost. I need to, that seems like a bug. I'm going to go ahead and file that before I forget, because I will forget. Bug report, bug, client takes you to previous server when authenticating to a new server. Description of the bug, I am authenticated to a server when I use the dropdown to change server and successfully connect plus login to a new server. It refreshes the library screen like one would expect, but the library being queried is the original server, not the newly authenticated one. Authenticated one. Set up 2 Dust servers, connect to one, log in to that server via the client, change server, click the change server button in the top left. Connect to a new server, log into the new server, possibly refresh. Observe that the server, that the library shown is the previously connected library, not the newest connected library. Actually, that's not necessarily correct. Not the library the user just connected to. the library should show the data from the client should show the library from the most recently connected request. Words are hard. Actual behavior. The client shows the library that was previously connected to before authenticating to the new library. Yeah, the environment stuff doesn't really matter for this. There's no log messages for this one. Label bug. I'm also going to throw good first issue on this. This is strictly in the client. So I do think this would be a pretty good first issue, even for people who don't have Zig experience. I'm also going to add a couple labels here. Component client pertaining to exclusively or almost exclusively. That's not necessarily true because I'd like to be able to say this pertains to the client and the server. Includes work pertaining to the Dust client. And we're going to throw another one on there. Ah, beautiful pink component server. Contains work pertaining to the Dust server. Bada bing, put the client one on there. I feel like I should go and add some of these. So this would be, yep. This one's interesting. I actually think this might be both. Yep. Yep. Okay, so all of these are getting the label server. Does that work? Does it just, hey, I did apply them. Cool. And then these two are getting the label client as well. Neat. Okay, so we've, bugs aside, we've connected. I should see the image for this. I don't. Why do I not see this image? That's, is that a valid path? Is that a Red Dragon keyboard? No, I actually don't know what Red Dragon is. It is a Keychron keyboard. I'll show you in just a second, but I'm gonna Google Red Dragon keyboard. These are pretty. I like these colors a lot. I know those are the keycaps more than the board itself, but yeah, yeah. I run. I really like my keyboards. So I've got a Keychron. This is a limited edition champagne Keychron. I'm gonna pull up my stream really quick just so I can see if I'm actually holding this properly. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So you can see that. That's what I do for my development machine. At least for now. And then conversely, I've got a Keychron Q3 Max over here that is this is what I use for my desktop machine, and that desktop is my editing machine and my streaming machine. So I run like a capture card from my Linux laptop over here into my Windows PC, Windows for now, over here. You're a blind viewer. Okay. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but I just I'm not sure if you were able to see because I don't know the degree of your blindness. But I did pick up two different keyboards and was showing them off. But I'm always happy to do that anyways, so I definitely do not mind. That's cool though. I've worked in tech for a long time and have been very front end focused for a long time too. And I've been pretty interested in accessibility, including doing things that I believe are good for blind users. But I've never really had the opportunity to like get in front of a user with a true vision impairment and see what their thoughts were on the stuff that I was building. So that's cool. Capture cards are terrific. I have a tiny HDMI to USB-C adapter capture card. That is nice. Yeah. Yeah, I'm using an Elgato Game Capture HD60 uh fully blind. I love your content. I mean, sometimes you say, "Oh, that's pretty," but you share my interest of Zig and see alternatives. So I love your stuff. Thank you. That means a lot to me that you enjoy that. Um, I also just realized the chat has not been showing up in the stream, so I just fixed that. Hopefully, um, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. It does really mean a lot to me to hear that, and I will keep that in mind. I'll try to be more descriptive for things that I say. Oh, that's pretty, or anything like that. I don't want to exclude anybody. That would be very um, juxtaposed to the type of environment I want to create. No exclusions. Okay, what did I do wrong here? Temp books, Jim Blandy. So it looks like we're intercepting. Did it work here? It does work here. What's the difference? Terrific. I don't feel excluded at all, but it would be cool to know what's exactly on the screen. Yeah, I like it's a small ask for me, right? So I would be more than happy to do that. And to be honest, I listen to a lot of YouTube videos and don't always watch them. Specifically like podcasts like Syntax. So yeah, it would be helpful for me too if people just described more of what they're seeing. So I will try to be better about that. It might take some time, but I will try to internalize it and keep it in mind. Okay, so these paths are wildly different. So this one is localhost 4001 covers 1, and then the authors page is giving me a very different URL. Localhost 4001. Oh, it's giving me it's giving me the full path. Um okay, so how how are we handling that previously? Because it works up here for. Okay, so we've got this cover path logic. Is this really the only place we're using it? No, we're using it right here too. Okay, let's abstract that somewhere. That seems bad to duplicate all over the place. Actually, we have a cover manager. Why don't we put it in that? So download cover, if cover exists. Okay, so I'm just going to add a function here called pub fun. And then this will be transform db cover for HTTP. Yeah, seems good. And this is what we want. So we'll take this code right here, our cover path, and we're using a lock print. So we will need an allocator for this. So we'll pass in an allocator. That's exactly how I treat your content. Take your time for sure. All great changes take time, but I'll keep tuning in. Yeah, I appreciate that. Think your lucky stars you're not writing Java. You'd be writing a manager factory. Yeah, it'd be a manager factory dependency injection provider factory impl component bean widget. Yeah, I've had my Java days. I don't plan to go back. Although I will say Java's gotten a lot nicer over the past couple years. And also, just I do see your message. Give me 1 second to wrap this up, and then we'll take a look at that repo. And yeah, sorry, YouTube does not like, specifically for lives, it does not like people sharing links outside of approved moderators. So my apologies. I totally forgot about that. Okay, so we're just returning a slice const u8, so a string, if you will. And we're just going to return cover path. And we need to take in the book. So the book is essentially just going to be a book, I guess. Where are the book models defined? Book model. Tags, author. Yeah, book. Okay. So books model. Const books import what's the path for this? Module books model? Modules books model. Okay, so it should just be book.book in that case. Oh, books. Java's level of abstraction hurts my head more than Rust. Rust's at least like that for a reason. Java's optionals are so dumb. They can still be null themselves because optional is an object. Everything's an object. Actually, that's not true. I guess you still have your primitives, which aren't necessarily an object unless you box them. But yeah, it's a pain. It, it really is, and I think you really covered like the main reason why it's a pain, which is things that appear to solve the null problem can still be null themselves because of how objects work in Java. Like it is a fundamental flaw if you consider it to be a flaw. Java. Yeah, Rust is interesting too. The trait syntax is nice. It just feels a little easier to follow than like deep levels of abstraction. Okay, let me try to run this again. I feel like it's not going to run. But I'd like to know what I've done wrong, and the compiler will help me. No, it's running. Okay, cool. So let's say I did nothing wrong. Oh, that's not true. We're not using this anywhere, so it's probably, excuse me, it's probably just getting ejected. So what we can do here is I can do something like cover manager, this. We need an allocator, so we'll pass in an allocator, and then we'll pass in the book. So something like that, and then this will be the cover path. I almost feel like it would be a better idea for me to abstract this DB read so that I could just do this transformation. Well, we might not want to transform it as we are reading it from the database. That's okay. We'll do this for now. Okay, so that should... Oh, oops. Yep. Let's get on up to the top up here, and then we need to pull in our cover manager. Cover manager, import. Cover manager. Do we need to go up? Cover. Yeah, we do need to go up. Okay, cool. So we're pulling in our cover manager. We'll just call this covers. And then down here, this will be covers.cover manager. And I need to actually change this to covers. I'm sorry, that's a bad idea. Instead, we'll do the cover manager and we'll pull it in and we'll just take cover manager right off the top here. And we'll change this to cover manager. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking of doing it differently. This is much clearer. Yeah, this can now become const. How exciting. And then I know that we're throwing this in an arena, but I am going to defer freeing this. So allocator.free cover path. I know it's in an arena, but it is a good habit to get into. And if we were ever to change this from not being in an arena for whatever reason, we'd have to go back in and find all the areas that we are not deallocating. So I'm just going to do it like this. I appreciate languages where I can understand every line of the standard library. So far, Go and Zig have scratched that itch for me. It's possible C3 and Odin could too, but I haven't tried much. Yeah, I've been talking with, sort of talking or being around conversations with the creator of C3, and it's gotten me way more excited about the language. So it's something I'd like to check out soon too. I do totally agree. I actually think that, to be honest, Go is even easier to understand every line of their standard library than Zig. There's definitely some stuff in Zig that throws me off. And Go is just so dang simple. But I do agree, Zig's probably the next closest language for me for that. Okay, so we have this cover manager. This pattern is good. We're going to use this in a couple different spots now. So we have get book, we have get books. So that's going to be right here. This is interesting. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think we can defer this here simply because we're using the arena provided by HTTPZ. And I'm pretty sure that when we defer that, that'll execute the defer right here at the end of this scope. And the issue that we'll run into is we'll have freed that memory before HTTPC writes it. So the cover path here will become invalid. So, not my favorite thing, but that's okay. It is a symptom of the design choices we've made, and I will be okay. Okay, so we have our list authors, we have our author capacity. I'd like to get this data at some point. Get author, res arena. We have our books. Okay, so essentially we want what we have up here then, where we are creating a response like so. Whoops, wrong command. And actually we want this too. So we'll just grab this. That's a single book though, and we want to do multiple. So let's fix that. So up here, we are iterating through. We have our books with authors. It's a struct. Get our books repo for each book. Appending. Okay, yeah, we'll basically just take the same pattern that we have here then, I guess. And we'll take this and let me hit the actual correct key. Hop back down here. List authors, get author. Yeah, and we'll do something like this. I guess on that note, we don't necessarily need this books with author type approach. And really the book itself is the path is so it's cover image path. Yeah, okay, we can simplify this a lot. So instead, really what I want to do, I don't need this. I don't need any of this author stuff. All I really need to do is I'm just going to iterate through each of these books And I just want to replace the cover image path. Are these consts by chance? Is that my issue here? Those are const books. But if this is equal to const cover path is equal to cover manager dot transform, use our allocator here, and then we have a book, which is an unknown type. Yeah, we'll definitely have to fix that. Should just be something like that, right? Clean this up. Let's go ahead and remove these comments since we know we're not taking this approach. And then we're essentially just overriding that property. I probably should actually free this value here. So do something like allocator.free since we're really not needing it anymore. Do book.cover image path like so. Okay, a couple comments. Give me just a second. I will jump into those. Don't want to lose my train of thought. I guess I should have read the comments. Someone said, your import looks wrong. Still, you types module/book instead of modules/books. Ah, yep. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that'll be cover manager. Modules, books, model. Why is this still okay? Still unknown. I'm just zig build run. See if it no within root modules books model. Jeez. Oh man. Okay, cool. Yeah, these are errors that are a little more like what I would expect. This one not so much. That's interesting. Cover manager 14. Oh, yeah, this can error. Let's let it error. Okay. Yeah, where we're using the cover manager, we also need to try now, which totally makes sense. So we can come here. This becomes a try. This becomes a try. And then this becomes a try as well, just in case we can't allocate memory for whatever reason. Give this another run. Cannot assign to const. Dang it. Okay, that's what I was expecting. Routes.zig. Books 324. Yeah, right here. Const cover path. Var. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, need to dereference that pointer. 7 references hidden. Use f reference trace 9. F reference trace 9. Okay. Slight tangent before I forget. I need to go and find the repo that you had mentioned, just dot, before I forget, which is coming up real soon because my brain is starting to cache bust. Please check if you see this GitHub repo for bread stream zig nat c. Oh, lost a headphone. You know what? It'd probably be better to actually use a browser I'm signed in on. Okay, I don't know if you made a typo or if you meant Brad or bread. So I'm just gonna search stream zig nats c. Good old bread. Okay, cool. Let me just take a look, make sure that you're not secretly trying to do something malicious to me. Dnats. Excuse me. Okay. What's the issue that you're running into as well? You're using C import, C include, nats h. Yeah, could you like this looks correct. Could you tell me more about the issue that you're running into? If you're still here, just dot. Also, I can make this bigger. My apologies. Oh, hey, I come from web development and would love to start learning more low-level programming, and I would love to start with Zig. Could you give me tips and best places to start? Yes, I would love to give you tips and best places to start. I promise I'm not so conceited that I would just recommend you to one of my own videos, but I am going to recommend you to one of my own videos. So specifically, oh my gosh, where is it? Uh, okay, shameless self plug for a second. There's a lot of really good information here, like things that you might find difficult to find elsewhere. So, an example of using C libraries in Zig, like this is using image magic to add sepia to an image in Zig. So, there's an example video on that. Some data structures and algorithm type stuff, building Bloom filters. Those are so fun to work with. Zero heap allocation data structures in Zig, like all sorts of really cool things that are important. Patterns that have tripped me up, specifically defer and how it differs from Go. Building a tiny tokenizer, so like that's a fantastic project. Um, this one, my favorite Zig project yet, 9 months ago, was building a byte pusher emulator. I love this project. I do this in a bunch of different languages. It is one of my favorite little projects to see how large systems fit together when it comes to programming. And I say large systems, they're really not that big. And for example, if you were to leverage existing graphics libraries on your operating system, you can build a byte pusher emulator in like 110, 120 lines of C code. My Flutter implementation was like 500 or 600 lines. My Zig implementation, I think, was 120 or 130 lines. So there's that, but it's actually still not the video I'm looking for. Get good at Zig. Here we go. This one. So this video of me looking like an old man. Get good at Zig with these resources for learning the language. I'm going to pull it up we're not gonna play it, but I've got some links in the description down here. So there's zig.guide. This is dated, so just be aware of that. But if you pull up zig.guide, this is how I started this. And whoa, did they update the guide for 015 too? No way. That's great. They skipped 014. But I had 013 had been out for a little bit. I started at the end of 013 when we were starting to move from 013 to 014, or shortly after me starting, we moved to 014, and the guide was kind of dated. But actually, if this is up to date for 015, this is fantastic. This is a really nice guide to kind of get started. Yes. Okay, it is updated for 015. That's fantastic. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Zig Guide. Pedro Park has this Zig book. That is, I'm sorry, did it just link to my? Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Yeah, Pedro Park has this Zig book. It's online. It's free. It's very very good. I would recommend this for sure. You get into some interesting stuff too, like building a stack data structure, using comp time, all sorts of fun stuff. It's a good little book to kind of get started. Um, Similarly, there is a Zig Meep book that is out. I purchased this. At this point in time, I don't necessarily recommend purchasing it. Um, it's just not, there's not enough content yet, to be honest. It seems like it could be good. Um, how do I, so much crap in the way. Okay. Well, I don't necessarily recommend publishing that at this point. It might end up being a good book, but it's so early on. And if you're unfamiliar with the MEEP stuff, it's the Manning Early Access Publishing. So you get a PDF copy of the book now, and you can get PDFs as it's updated. And then I think if you end up doing the MEEP program and do the MEEP and physical book, they will send you a physical book when it's finally published. There's not a lot of actual content in the Zig system programming with ZigBook yet. I'm very hopeful. Manning generally does a very good job with their books, so I'm hopeful that it will be a great resource to recommend to people, but at this point it's just kind of not there. Ziglings is another option. So Ziglings is little bite-sized broken programs that teach you more about Zig. These are really cool. It's based off of Rustlings, to my knowledge. I think Rustlings was the first one to do that, and I guess Ruby with cones. But yeah, so these are really cool because essentially there's instructions on how to run each one, somewhere in here. Yeah, like this. So you can check a single exercise or run all exercises starting from a specific one, but they're essentially little broken pieces of program and exercises, if I can find the right files. This one's really easy, right? So like the first one is hello world, and in this one you're supposed to print hello world, but it needs your help. Zig functions are private default, but the main function must be public. So it like teaches you a little bit about it as you go. And then it also indicates that perhaps knowing this will help you solve this error we're getting into. So simply enough, Zig functions are private, but the main function must be public. The reason this one isn't publishing the text that you would expect it to see is because that this function is private and not public. So you can fix that by adding the pub keyword. That's a really small example, right? But it really shows you just kind of how to get your feet wet. But maybe you'll also get into pointers. And you have an exercise here that talks about pointers and how you have to use them to make num2 equal 5 using num1's pointer. And then they have a cheat sheet above to give you some ideas. So yeah, Ziglings is pretty cool. I haven't done all of these. I actually only did, I think, up to 18 or 19. But yeah, I would check those out for sure. Besides that, read the Zig standard library. It like I hate recommending that because I feel like so many people will hear that and say, "No way in heck am I going to do that. That sounds awful." But realistically, it's one of the better options out there because the standard library is Zig at its finest. It's Zig written by the people who write Zig. It is, sanctioned as the way that Zig should be written because it's the standard library. So yeah, I would recommend that as well. reading through the documentation and then the source code is huge. It's the hardest of the things I've suggested for sure, but I think it also is the most impactful. Okay, the program keeps failing with memcopy. In the nat C library thread, null pointer passes argument 2, which is declared to never be. Is there more to that, or is it just never be? Okay. Um, oh, here we go. Lost the repo. The program keeps failing within memcopy in the nat C library. Interesting. Okay, so it's failing in the library. Null pointer pass for argument 2, which is declared to never be. My hunch is that the probably is not a Zig issue then. And it sounds specifically like something about using the nats library properly. If you have a stack trace, it could be helpful to indicate where this is failing. Like, is it failing on line 10? Is it failing on line 12? Is it failing on 16? Like that could be helpful. Null pointer passes argument 2. Oh, this might need to be a C string if this is argument 2 in the case that's failing. So there's Zig C string. All right, Michael Lynch, what do you got for me? In C, string is a type of car pointer. Yep. Basic Zig string. Yep. So you have these. Zig's null terminators for C compatibility. Yeah, I would maybe check this out if you haven't yet. It seems like maybe the issue could be that you're not passing a C string and it needs it to be a C string. Generally, when people write wrappers around C libraries, they tend to write a layer that takes in the Zig stuff and translates it to the C stuff. Potentially a good example of that would be Zig curl. Is this the guy I'm thinking of? I think so. Let me double check. Yes, okay, this is the one I worked on. So yeah, like this library Zig curl kind of does that approach where it takes things and converts them from Zig style to C style. So for example, the expectations for what the user agent looks like, and we can see how that's used. So it's passing via pointer down here to check code. Yeah, I know it's probably not the most helpful thing. I would definitely look at, just for example, like these are some of the types that are taken in here. So you see that it's using a C uint and a like a C car here. I would just make sure that you are doing things with the C appropriate types where necessary. And especially since it says that there's a panic because of the second argument, which is declared to never be ... And I don't know more than that based off the message you gave me. The second argument being this one, it seems like this could be your issue here, that this isn't necessarily a C string. Okay. Wow, we've been tangenting a lot. Let's which is good. I don't necessarily mind. I'd rather actually just have nice fun conversations with you all than necessarily beat my head against something. But okay, cool. Union declared here, built-in allocator, access of union field pointer while field optional is active. I don't remember. I've seen this error message before, and I'm not remembering off the top of my head what that means. So we might have to do a little bit of search. Three, two, three. So yeah, it has to be because we're freeing this, and it's expecting it to be maybe something like this instead. No. Okay. Error. Access of union field pointer while field optional is active. I don't remember, so let's Google it. And this will give me a second to drink my coffee as well. Sorry, did my Google just crash? What happened? Oh, I didn't copy this. I terminated the program. Oops. Man, that is one of the things. I've been on a Mac for like 8 or 9 years now, 10 years, 11 years. No, oh my God, longer than that, 12 years. And one of the things I'm on Linux now. I was gonna say obviously, but actually it might not be obvious from the screencast. But remembering the key changes on Linux as opposed to Mac are definitely tripping me up. What have I done wrong here? Input isn't optional, so you have to access. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Right here, yes. Cover image path. Something like that. I think actually this highlights something that I would rather do more clean than so. And essentially just check if book dot cover image path. We'll call this path, and then we'll just do all of this here instead. That seems cleaner to me. And then this becomes path. And yeah, I think that should work, or at least get us further. So let's give that a shot. I'm also going to change my music again. I'm ghosted out. Someone wants to send me a message. Let's do you guys have any music requests? Not that you can hear it either, so I guess it'd be music suggestions, not a request. I'm going to pull up some Sleep Token. But if you have suggestions, I'd love to hear them. And we're going to pump this one. The song's so good. Okay, cool. It's running, which is good. Let's see if I can find dust and see if I can reload this page and see if it fixes it. It does. Cool. Okay, this feels great. Small fix. I'm going to commit this and we'll ship it. I still don't, I'm not ready to commit the uppies stuff yet. So let's commit the client and let's add the source. And this is a fix. Oops, not AN, just M. Fix authors. Fix author page payload. Fix broken book images on author page. Okay. What time is it? 12 o'clock. Oh yeah, we still got time. We'll do a little bit more. Okay. I'm gonna put on my hat. Okay, cool. So we've got authors. We've got good old Jim Blandy. I do have a bug with my Uppies script, but I don't know how interesting that would be to work on. Not that Uppies is broken, but one of the scripts that is used for Dust with Uppies is broken. So yeah, I need to figure that out at some point. Okay, cool. Light mode would be cool. Maybe that'd be fun to implement. So we've got our author page. I do want to see if I can find any information about Jim Blandy. on Open Library? And if so, I want to see what it looks like to import his data. Show me Jim Blandy. There's really not any information. Is that nationality? Oh no, Wikidata. Okay. Yeah, I need to like. I don't mind contributing data back, but I don't know what information they even want here. I guess I could edit the page and see what they would have. Um, I need to be logged in, and I'm not logged in Chrome. Okay, edit this. Show me what we got. Nice, services unavailable. Yeah, Open Library is really struggling today. Date of birth, date of death. Does he go by other names? Software engineer. All right, Jim. Jim Blandy. If you like moss, what is moss? Like literal moss? Literal moss. Wild. Broken WordPress page. I This is what I'm looking for. Okay. Borrowing this. Did I type O'Reilly correctly? Oreilly. Do we not have a picture for Jim? We do not have a picture for Jim. Oh, Jim, do you have a good picture? That's not bad. That's not bad. I don't know. All right. Hate me later, Jim. Please? Paste an image from your clipboard. Yep. Oh my goodness, man. It is so slow. Oh my gosh. Hey, coolest name possible. What have we been working on? So we've been doing some stuff with Dust, some Zig stuff, some lit web component stuff. Looking into a couple things that some people have suggested. Um, Man, I'm gonna be honest. It feels like feel like I'm saying that we haven't done anything. Editing some data for Open Library since Dust uses that for its metadata. I'm missing something, right? I feel like we did a deep dive into something. How's things going on your end? Coolest name possible. I don't know if this is gonna load. Oh, oh, mid. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. What would make mid become not mid? Good, good, I guess. I'm not really sure what the scale is from low, mid, high. What would make it be high? Oh, nice. This is looking pretty good. Unfortunate dilemma. I don't have functionality in place to refresh author data, so I'll probably need to implement that too. So I'm gonna go ahead and file a ticket. Excuse me. Nope, not uppies. Not HTTP spec. Not Zig SQLite. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's file a feature request. Feature request. Admin endpoint for refreshing author metadata from Open Library. Data may change in Open Library for an author, and it would be great to be able to fetch updated data on demand. You don't want to kill the mood. You're really excited for future WASM content from this channel. Yeah, I am too. I've been reading this, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it's also killing the mood. But it is really interesting. Like I didn't know that WASM has this concept known as traps, and essentially traps are edge case exceptions that can't be caught on the WASM side and have to be handled by the host system, which is interesting. I'm kind of curious why you would run into a scenario where you can't handle it on the WASM side outside of something like the host needing to provide more memory to the WASM system or something like that. I haven't really gotten into it enough yet, but it is really interesting, and I'm really excited to get deeper into it because, to be honest, my background is predominantly web, and I've just gotten so bored of modern web front end development, and I haven't really been doing front end web stuff for the past like 4 or 5 years. And I will caveat it by saying some really cool stuff has come out in the past 4 or 5 years. But I feel like WASM is an opportunity for me to take the stuff that I like writing and potentially put some of it on the web and make it more distributable and accessible. So I'm pretty hopeful for the future for WASM. And to be completely transparent, WASM 3 with GC support has me super excited because now I'm seeing an opportunity for languages like Dart to come back on the web. Okay, data may change. I made a little WASM project that demonstrates running C code in the browser. Want to take a look? Yeah, I'd love to take a look. You won't. It's so since it's a live stream, you won't be able to share links. We found that out. But if you give me like a GitHub repo or like something that is clear where I need to go, I'm happy to pull it up. Add a button on the client. Yeah, that works. That works too. Discord's fine. Adding a button on the client to refetch author metadata. which triggers a newly created API endpoint to do exactly that. This should likely be similar to the book metadata refresh admin endpoint if you need inspiration. Cool, cool. Alternatives considered, not applicable. Additional context, not applicable. Feature, client, server. Honestly, probably not a bad, good first issue. Okay. This is me opening this in not a good idea. Not on stream. I'm in too many other discords that may or may not want me sharing content. Okay, you posted it in general. Give me just 1 second. Uh, you got it. Um, Kinsitexo. I'm sorry, I butchered that name. I have a lot of thoughts on that. I'll share them in just a second because it is extremely front of mind. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I need to actually like better organize my Discord stuff so that I don't feel as weird opening it on stream. But I know I've got like it's not just like my Discord and professional stuff. It's close friends and stuff, and I don't want to like accidentally dox someone. So I need to come up with a better solution for being able to pull it up on stream, just out of the blue, as opposed to like having it already pulled up and show something that is already visible. Okay, so before we get into this WASM cube stuff, someone said, curious to hear your thoughts. How much does the lack of finalized async await strategy impact the decision to use Zig for systems programming right now? Do you consider it a real bottleneck? I do. I do consider it a real bottleneck. I think that this is the year. I don't mind pulling up my own X, which I've been trying to post more on. Uh, awesome. Um, yeah. Let's try this again. Can I just go straight to? Oh, I need to type my name properly. That's not true at all. I've posted a lot. Why would you say that? Um, hmm. Okay. Anyways, I posted something on X the other day, and ultimately I said that 2026 is going to be like a make or break for Zig for me. Um, I'm really hopeful that it'll be a make, and I think it will be based off what I've seen. But the fact of the matter is, I had intentionally been kicking the can down the road on rewriting Dust in Zig because I had been waiting for async await in Zig 016. And I had a interview with Loris Crow, the VP of Community from Zig, who's a fantastic person, and I strongly recommend, you know, being involved in however much you can in his life as possible because he's just a wonderful human. Um, but I had an interview with him a while back where he mentioned, that we could start seeing async await as early as like October of last year, and it got me really excited about it. And I'm not knocking the fact that it isn't out in October, but it is taking longer than I had originally expected, and I'm getting more and more nervous. And don't get me wrong, I would rather them get it right and take the time they need to get it right than ship something that's not a good solution, but like maybe solves 5% of the use case. Not a good idea. So I'm happy that they're taking the time to do it, but I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you. And the timeline for that has been kind of pushing back some projects that I want to do. Like I have another project called Pop Shop that I would love to work on, and it's essentially just a like a development tool that is a reverse proxy for like the problem that it would solve is like let's say you and I are working on a project together, and I'm building the client, and you're building the server. We could essentially define what our contracts look like in Pop Shop, and then I could spin up Pop Shop, and I could, as the front end developer, start making queries to PopShop while you're building out the back end, and PopShop would mock everything. And then as you are building out backend endpoints that replace the endpoints in PopShop, I can still just proxy through PopShop to your service. So I put PopShop in the middle. And to be honest, like a lot of the stuff I want to do, I feel like async and await would be a pretty good way to approach that because I really want to try to build as much as I can with PopShop from the ground up. And do as few dependencies as possible. So async awaits something that's kind of kicking that project down the road. Um, what else? Do I consider it a real bottleneck? I mean, yes and no. I It's a bottleneck for some things, right? But I mean, we still have Tiger Beetle, we still have Ghosty, we have Bun, we have like plenty of really impactful applications that have been built using Zig at a production scale. So I don't know if it's necessarily a bottleneck. It is just something that I would really like to use. So, and then kind of going into Justot's question, what do you think about the possibilities Zig O16 would bring? And those possibilities make Zig go mainstream. Um, Async await. I think async await would make Zig way more approachable from a mainstream audience. I think we've seen other languages with different models for asynchronous programming and concurrency, and I honestly I think that what you have right now in Zig out of the box is a very old school way of thinking about problems asynchronously and concurrently, and it's fine. It works, but it's just not as nice as like some things that other languages offer, like Rust's async await runtime with like Tokyo, and oh my gosh, language name slipping through the cracks. Go. Could not remember why I couldn't think of Go. But Go's concurrency model is like it's so nice. It's so simple. It's so accessible. It's also so easy to shoot yourself in the foot with. And I'm sure that Zig is trying to make sure that you don't accidentally shoot yourself in the foot. And they adhere to the Zig values and things like that when building async await. So again, I don't mind them taking their time. I would rather them take not forever, but a very long time and get it right than give us something that kind of sort of works for now, but they end up replacing in the next version of Zig because it didn't meet everyone's needs. Pigeon, I'm glad you're here. The direction sounds good to me though. The direction for async await, I totally agree. I'm excited for it. I think the one part that I'm still like weirdly tripped up by, and this is such a like nitpicky thing, but the first parameter when you make an allocation is the allocator, and it's just by convention. Like there's no requirement to do that, but it is convention, and it's helpful because if you see a function that takes in an allocator, it's doing allocations. Well, the with the IO changes, the convention is that the first parameter that you pass in is a like an IO instance, an IO object. I'm talking too long. IO instance, and IO object, and I'm very curious to know like this is such a pointless nitpick, but does it make sense for IO to be the first parameter? Or does it make sense for the allocator to be the first parameter? Um, and I think it would be IO because the impact of IO being the first parameter and being more easily identifiable is higher than the impact of doing allocations. Um, I get hung up on little things like that all the time. But if you haven't seen the color of your function, um, by Bob Nystrom. Never remember his. This is him, right? Stuff with stuff. Yeah, this is him. Did he change his blog layout? Bob Nystrom, fantastic person who worked on Dart for the longest time. I'm not sure if he still does, but Yeah, really great person, and he has this really great blog post called "What Color is Your Function," and it talks about red and blue functions and the idea that I think if I'm getting it correct, the red functions can only call other red functions, but blue functions can call red functions and blue functions. Um, and the idea here is essentially that every function has a color, and depending on what that function's color, it has constraints on how it can be called. And you start to get into that when you start thinking about asynchronous code and programming, and how when you start making things async, you start like everything essentially has to start picking a color, and that color tends to be the async color. But it's a good idea to make things the color that is more flexible as much as you can, and then have the async stuff call the non-async stuff. I'm probably butchering this blog post, but it's a really good post that I would highly recommend reading if you're curious about that. Direction sounds good. This is where Odin's context approach makes more sense. Yeah, it kind of does. And I think as we start finding more things that have to get passed in function after function after function. So like right now we have IO and we have an allocator. And you know, if there becomes more stuff, I think we'll get to the point where it just feels like there's a ton of boilerplate. And I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. Coffee time, that's the kind of thing that you get hung up on too. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Pigeon, WASM stuff. Um, WASM stuff going on here. Not really, not yet. I'm hoping we talked just a little bit about it. I've actually just been working on Dust for the most part. But I'd like to do more WASM stuff. I've got a spec pulled up and I've been reading through it in my spare time, and it's not the most enjoyable thing to read. But I've learned a lot, and there's some interesting stuff in there, so I think it's worth it. Does the order really matter? IO then alloc or alloc then IO? Moreover, Zig is statically typed. So does the order really matter to who? I think is the question. To the computer? No, the computer doesn't care. There's unless the compiler puts some hard coded convention in that's like if you don't pass in IO as the first parameter, then so and so. But they're not going to do that. But it does matter to me, right? So like there, when I see, how do I explain this? Um, the reason that the array list changes that came out in 014, where they moved from managed to unmanaged array lists, there's two reasons. The first reason is that unmanaged array lists are slightly smaller in terms of memory structure. But more importantly, Zig has this philosophy that is every time that you're doing an allocation, an allocator should be required. So if you create an array list and you pass in an allocator, it might not be obvious to someone reading the code that is pushing onto the array list that an allocation could be happening there. So it does matter in that sense. And that's the reason why I like to have the allocator be the first parameter, is because it's obvious to me when something takes in an allocator, I know that function can make an allocation. Similarly, we have the same problem with IO. And we know that if a function takes in an IO option, an IO runtime, an IO whatever it ends up being called, we know that it is making a choice on how to do async or some form of IO. And I think that one has more impact to the rest of the program than a single allocator, which is why I'm saying that I think it should be first personally. Does it really matter? It does for people who are reading code, right? Like a convention, yeah, like coolest name possible mentioned. I think we need to pick an order to be consistent. I totally agree. I think that order is helpful. And I think more importantly, like we read from left to right. So the very first parameter being the parameter that has the most impact on what that function is actually doing should probably be, that should be the case. Um, and I guess I'm making the argument here that the IO parameter has more impact on how that function behaves than an allocator. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I've got a couple thoughts there, and I just should push them together and put out a video. So give me some time to refine that thought process, and then once I have that, maybe I'll have a more determined stance that I'd be willing to share, and maybe it'll be helpful for the Zig community at large. So that'd be great. Sometimes saw a context struct passed around. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so there are implications of that too, right? Like that struct is going to take up space. Um, it's maybe not as obvious what is in the context. But then, but like I mentioned previously, there is a really good point for that too, which is if we have we're at the point where we pass in probably IO and probably an allocator to some functions, and that feels like a little bit of boilerplate. I honestly think if we add one more thing, it feels like enough boilerplate that maybe a context struct makes sense. And if we get there, I totally think that's fine. Um, I don't. I mean, you could do it now, and you could do it now with just an allocator if you wanted, but it probably would defeat the whole point. But with IO and an allocator, you could do it too, and there's nothing stopping you from doing that. Um, I just think that that level of indirection just maybe makes it more confusing what a function is actually doing instead of being explicit about it. And yeah, I I guess that's where my thoughts are. But again, if we have like three things or more that is boilerplate that gets passed into most functions, I'm totally with you that I think a context would be maybe a better solution. And honestly, that might help vindicate all the Odin fans that keep popping up in my YouTube videos saying I need to just give Odin a shot. Um, because that context system kind of helps solve that problem in the Odin space. Okay. Yeah, WASM cube. I got so distracted. I am so sorry. Let's let's talk about your cube. Okay, go server. Servers required for JS functions like fetch, WebAssembly. Okay, sure, makes sense. What do we have in the build.sh? Clang. Okay, sure, seems good. Okay. I'm gonna run this. I think, unless you tell me that there's some very nefarious code somewhere hidden in here that I should be aware of. We'll run this and take a look at it. Also, I'm just gonna be pedantic for a second. The reason I don't really like writing C is this right here. I really dislike header files. I get why they're useful. I get why it makes sense. I would rather them all just be in one file. That's my nitpick. It's my gripe about C. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, I would probably give C a better chance. And then I imagine I would probably run into some stuff that I'm like, wow, I would rather write Zig than this. But yeah. All right, let's see what we got. Show me a new tab. What do we have? Type this properly. Now the questions, do I have everything installed where I should just be able to run? Nope. WASM LD. Maybe. What? Is that an indication that it's not finding anything? Oh my god. I feel like updating my system on stream is probably not the best idea. It'd be a fun stream to watch me fix my Arch system. Pre-built WASM modules already there. Just run go run server.go. It makes me nervous, but I'll follow your guidance. I trust you, coolest name possible. It's mesmerizing. I do like that quite a bit. Interesting. And this was, I mean, I didn't look at every C file, but what we're probably looking at like 150 lines of C code, if that. Is that fair to say? Also, one sec, gonna change my music again because I am starting to get tired of the same artist. No one gave me music suggestions either. How about, Yeah, I'll just throw a playlist on. Not that song though, or that one, or that one. Okay, maybe a playlist wasn't the right choice. Whatever, we'll run with it. You recently found a new artist that you really like. Where can you share their music? You can post it in our Discord server if you'd like. I'm also, if you have like a band name or an artist name and a song recommendation, I'm happy to just run with that here. What music do you generally like? I listen to just about everything. I would say country is my least listened to um album, or not album, genre. I really can't stress enough that I listen to everything. In this session of streaming, I've been listening to. I started with some rap. I moved on to metal. Moved on to progressively heavier metal. Switched to some alt rock. I'm listening to alt rock right now. Um, I've got a band shirt on for one of my favorite bands called Ludo. I guess they're alt rock. I really like synthwave stuff. I like lo-fi stuff. I weirdly enough, I like vaporwave stuff. It like sets my brain to a really weird pace that just feels pleasant and productive. Um, yeah, I listen to just about everything. So I love hearing about new music, and I'm willing to give just about anything a shot. So if you have suggestions, the Discord server is great. Also, you can just share an artist here in chat. So Finlay, Findlay. Finlay. Stoned and Alone. Okay. Let's give it a shot. Um, okay. Sorry, there was a question too. I just got distracted with music. So please take some time to explain thread local in Zig. Um, okay, yeah. So thread local is it's a keyword, right? So we can pull it up too. It might be useful. Zig thread local, not thread local storage, just thread local. It's all one word actually. That might be my issue. Yeah, okay. Standard thread local. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so yeah, they have an example of it right here. Thread local variables. So really, they're declared using that keyword. Ultimately, they're ensuring that each thread has its own copy, like an independent copy of the variable. This is useful for like race conditions, right? So if you're multi-threading something and you are running, like you have a global, for example, and you're running it across multiple threads. Like this is actually just such a good example. So this is a global, right? Like this is in a global scope. It's not in a thread specific scope, but each thread is doing this test TLS, and this test TLS is asserting that this is the case, and then X gets incremented by 1 and then is asserting here. So the idea here is each thread that accesses this variable will get its own copy. So since it's set to 1, 2, 3, 4, this first thread gets a copy, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's assume this is a single threaded experience, right? Because it'll be easier to think about it single threadedly. Um, so we create two threads. We can only run one thread at a time. So we spawn this thread, and it runs to completion. So we get X. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. This assert passes. We increment it by 1. It's 1, 2, 3, 5. This assert passes. This thread finishes, so we spawn our next thread. Remember, we're only running one thread at a time. So this thread gets X, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not 1, 2, 3, 5, even though our previous thread incremented it, because each thread gets its own thread local variable. And honestly, that is what it does. But in this case, the second thread would get a 1, 2, 3, 4. It would increment it by 1, and then it would assert that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 5, which also passes because we just incremented it. And then this stuff here is actually, this is a really good point. This is in its own thread. So the test itself is running in its own thread. This thread spawned two more threads, But this thread can also get its own copy of X because it's thread local. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. We add 1 to it, it becomes 1, 2, 3, 5. All of these assertions pass. This program will run successfully. And actually, you can see that right down here. Hopefully that's clear and helpful as to how thread local works. Essentially, this is cool too. For single threaded builds, all thread local variables are treated as regular container level variables. They also can't be const. Does that make sense? Does that clarify kind of thread local when you would use it? Also, your Finlay suggestion is great. I've just finished listening to Stoned and Alone, and it is good. It's a good song. I'm also curious what Pigeon sent though. Pigeon, you're German, right? Did you send me like some hard step or some German drum and bass? What did you send me? Liv Romano. Okay, she does not look like German hard step. Let's check it out. Liv Romano. I'm gonna star that Finlay song. That was good. Actually, Waste My Time by Finlay kind of reminds me of Renee, who does Sales. Renee Sales. Let me see if pull that up really quick. Renee. I'm not gonna play it for you, but yeah, this song. Sales by Renee. If you liked Finlay, you might want to check this song out if you have not. Different, but somewhat similar. No, not German hard step. Liv Romano. Okay. Let's see if I can remember the name. Liv Romano. Lasso the Moon. Okay. What were we doing? We've detoured so much, but I really don't mind it. I really love just the chats that we get into. I think these are fun and opportunities for me to learn and me to teach, and that's some of my favorite stuff to do. So I do not mind at all. Okay, so we fixed the cover manager issue for. I still have the debugger here. I probably should fix that. We fixed the cover manager issue here. We did find that Jim Blandy did not have author information. We added author information, but I don't have a refresh author metadata. That's weird. Oh, I'm not running this server anymore. That's not weird. Never mind. Because I pushed. Say build run. Also, I know that there's nothing crazy going on here, but man, it feels so good seeing this boot up within like, 1/100th of a second. No, not German hard step. German hard step's good too, though. Okay. I don't actually think I can like. I don't think it would be moral. I'm not sure the legality of it, but moral for me to flip through this book on streams. I'm probably not going to do much of that. But honestly, this client stuff is starting to bug me, so maybe we just fix these really quick. And it is getting close to shut off time for me. I've got a little bit more, but at some point I'll need to bounce. So it might be good to go ahead and tackle some of these. So we've got a plus and minus. We've got a next with an arrow. This honestly would be easy to key off of in our search. Let's fix the client a little bit. Yeah, Dust is a media server, if you recall correctly. You do recall correctly, and the media on it you host yourself. I do. So actually, this might be a good opportunity to record this, and I can point other people to it when they have questions, because this question comes up quite a bit. So I've got a draw IO diagram here, and ultimately the architecture is something like this. And I don't actually, my UML is not the best, so bear with me. This is a file system. This is your file system. This isn't a custom file system. So there's a Dust server, there's a Dust client. these communicate as you would expect. There's a SQLite DB that is used by Dust and managed by Dust. And then Dust itself also does some file system specific stuff. And then it will take, yeah, okay, cool. What's the best way to do this? Probably text, actually. Is there not text? Okay. So yeah, you'll have something like, assuming you have like M as your media drive, you'd have like M slash your chat is getting deleted. I just saw that you posted in the Discord and it popped up here. So just heads up, if people do tag me in Discord, it probably will show up here. Um so I saw that you said that your message was getting deleted. You can't share links in the um stream chat. YouTube does not allow it. Comments on videos can have links. Stream chat does not for some reason. Also, this is so nitpicky, but why is this not center, or why is this like justified text? So you'd have something like media slash books slash author. I'm just gonna Chris Bernhardt. So just as an example, Bernhardt. So you'd have an author like that, and then you'd have a book like Quantum Computing for Everyone, and then you'd have an ISBN like 123 456 yada 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 .pdf or .epub. So those are two of the formats that we support currently. So yeah, this is, why is this not? Thank you. Jeez. So you'd have something like this, right? And this is that file system. And what's going on behind the scenes here is Dust takes whatever directory you give it. So if you give it the entire M drive, it'll index your entire M drive. If you just give it books, it'll index just books. Not the best example because there are some implications, like Dust is expecting a books folder, Dust is expecting a comics folder if you were to do comics as well. In theory, we support PDF comics, and then there's a comic format called CXN or CX something something. I don't remember. But in theory, we support that too. But I know that the client that I have has issues with it, and I just don't have any comics in those files, file format, so I haven't been able to test it. So it's on my list, but message retracted. I can put you in timeout, but I can't see your message. So yeah, that's kind of how Dust works. It indexes stuff, stores it in SQLite, and then the one piece that's missing from this is where we get our data from. So I ask you to put everything via ISBN where possible. So we leverage Open Library, which is an API for book information. And Dust makes calls out to Open Library based off the ISBN that you've provided down here to help publish this information, download covers, all sorts of stuff like that. That is essentially how Dust fits in a nutshell. Emil Nordgaard asked, "What is Dust?" It's a bad example because this is still debuggered. Let me just remove the debugger. This is Dust. It's a media server where you host your own ebooks and comic books and things of that nature, and it gives you an experience where you can go in and read them. So if you want to read about DIY fermentation and you have a book on it, you can read that. This is taking a second. Actually, this is a massive PDF if I remember correctly, and we're technically not streaming the book content yet, which is one of the things I would like to do. Oh, this is I have the wrong ISBN for this one. I need to fix that. But another example would be like this: F# for machine learning. So you have a PDF in this case. We also support EPUB. I would love to support Mobi, but Mobi is becoming less and less popular. You can stream a PDF if it is web formatted. So there's a PDF make web compatible. Ba, 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 ba. Web optimized. So it's web optimized PDF. Yeah, so you can optimize a PDF for fast web view, which is linearization, so it can be loaded page by page. So yeah, that's something that like currently Dust doesn't do for you. So that's something I would need to figure out is how to either do that on behalf of the user or suggest that they, web optimize all of their PDFs. Have a good evening, Pigeon. Um, but yes, that is something you can do. And then the key thing here is F sharp in 2026. Yeah, F sharp is great. Um, so you can, read this, and this is me simulating reading. Um, and it does progress tracking. So, I might go back and read another book, or I might shut down my computer and then come back. That's what I'm simulating here with that refresh. But I load this back up, and you see that it's 14% complete, and it takes me back to where I left off, which is so freaking important. So yeah, that's Dust in a nutshell. I'm doing other stuff too, like tracking your currently reading stuff. Tons of bugs here to fix. Being able to track the books that you've completed. I'd love to be able to sync this with Goodreads at some point. So whenever you finish reading a book, I can just kick it off to your Goodreads if you have a Goodreads account that you would like to set up and connect. Um, that gets tricky too because you'd have to maintain the connection on each server that Dust is connected to, or maintain it client side, which probably would be the better solution. A wish list of being able to star the things that you're actually interested in is a goal. There's also goals for like ACLs. So if you have like a family that you share your ebooks with, maybe you don't want your kids reading, I don't know, violent comics. So you might set up tags for those and say that my kids don't have access to these tags. Or maybe a bit like a realistic example that I have right in front of me is like maybe my wife doesn't care about any of these programming books and she's more interested in I'm going to be honest, I don't have many many non-programming books in here at the moment, but the idea being like I could use ACLs to help filter out the stuff that she's not interested in so she wouldn't even see it. Yeah, so that's Dust in a nutshell. And cataloging all of the ebooks and just making it an enjoyable experience to read is the goal. Oh god, final exams coming up soon, and I have to learn all the UML diagrams. Yeah, UML's fine. My kids shouldn't be reading about C. C is unsafe. It is. It's so unsafe. You have to be careful. Okay. Someone tagged me in something on Discord, so I'm checking that really quick. Oh, you wrote your own. Okay, yeah. The Zig Invader stuff. Let's take a look. GitHub.com/OX5247 Zig Invaders. Endeavors. I should probably type that correctly. All right. Assuming you didn't really do anything different outside of main.zig, let's just take a look at that. Standard const up here at the top, state for menu, main game over. Yeah, that's I don't know if I ended up doing any num. I don't think I did, but that makes so much sense. Ooh, Raylib vectors? Okay. Got your state here. I didn't realize this. I don't think I've ever done this in Zig. I didn't realize you could set an enum to undefined. That's interesting. Warning, not a good example. I mean, it's a good example to see how other people do things, right? So you got your player bullets, you got your bullet cap, vector ID X. Okay. This is interesting. Timers, state menu. Key presses. Actually, this feels pretty clean. I'll be honest. This is a little hard to follow just with the vector stuff that you've got going on up here. But the state based switch is really nice. This all looks fairly familiar logically. I'm guessing you wrote a slice removes SB. Yeah, okay, down here. Go use Rust instead. Oh Lord. Um. Okay. Drawing based off of the state. Yeah, I like this. I mean, it feels clean to me. I'm biased. I have built something very similar before, so it might be easy for me to see how this is different from what I would do. But it all kind of wraps up to the same solution, more or less, or not the same solution. That sounds like it's downplaying what you've done, um, and B, it's not the same solution. But the user facing output would, I can see how it would be the same or consistent enough. Check collision rate. This is a Raylib thing? Oh man. I guess that's fair. I'm sorry, not fair. I guess that I'm not so upset about me not using Raylib for this. I didn't realize there was a Raylib option for this. This is actually really cool. But I guess doing it in Zig just hopefully helps cement more of the Zig learnings that people were hopefully able to get from the course. That's cool though. I didn't know this. And to be honest, my Raylib knowledge is actually really, really limited. So basically everything I've done in that course is the extent of my Raylib stuff, with one exception. I've done a little bit with Raylib GUI, I believe is what it was called. Ray GUI. Um, yeah, a little bit with Ray GUI as well. But yeah, you probably know more about Raylib than I do at this point. Actually, you almost certainly know more about Raylib than I do at this point. Cool. Okay. It is close to my lunchtime. So I think I am going to probably wrap up the stream here and eat some food because my belly is rumbling. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out. I really appreciate, honestly, just the experience of getting to work on some stuff and chat with you all. I think that's probably the coolest thing about, well, one of the coolest things about what I've built is the opportunity to meet people like you all and talk about the stuff that you're interested in and take turns teaching each other, which I'm super stoked about. So thank you so much. And please have a great day.